He is the author of Conservative Survival Guide to San Francisco, A Tale of Two Cities. Oh boy, Mr. Moyer, are you there? Good morning, well, Mr. Moyer. I'm calling you Mr. Moyer. Pardon me, but how old are you?
Just turned 32 days ago.
You look like you're 15, and good for you. Stay looking young. So I'm going to call you Thomas, okay? I'm not going to call you Mr. Moyer, all right? I'll call you Thomas.
Sounds good.
Thomas, so tell me about this book, the synopsis of Conservative Survival Guide to San Francisco, A Tale of Two Cities, and who's your target audience?
So my target audience, first of all, is anybody who is coming to the city as a tourist, coming here to live. And really what I've found is that as you look into San Francisco, you really kind of look at it at two different lenses. So on the first side, you have all the reasons why people move here in the first place. So the culture, the city, the tourists, and so forth. But there's also another side. As you get further down the rabbit hole, you kind of find this other side, this what I call the People's Republic of San Francisco, which for as kind of the stereotype that it's a very open-minded city, it sure doesn't apply to those with conservative ideals. So that's essentially the background of the book.
And so you wrote this book because you had firsthand experience and a bad experience when you say that when you were trying to go out and register conservatives there in San Francisco. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I'm very active in registering voters. A lot of the groups here in San Francisco are looking to register, Republicans, independents, really anybody who wants to have more, contribution to the city and build a vote. A lot of times when I go out to vote, we get yelled at, chastised, even spit on from time to time.
I don't get it.
A lot of you come out with.
I don't get it. Why?
It's funny. When you go out there, it's kind of you have a label on your back. You come out there with the big California Republican sign out front. People tend to take that the wrong way. They kind of look at you, kind of look at a book at its cover and just say, I don't agree with you, and I'm going to tell you about it. So
okay, telling you about it is one thing, but spitting on you, that's excessive and quite ridiculous and violent. So has anyone been arrested as a result of that?
No one's ever gotten arrested. They actually try to get the police to come arrest us and take us off, which they actually never do since we have a legal right to be there. But it's not just me. I mean, we have a Vietnam War veteran who's actually gotten spit on as well. I think this is very ridiculous, very uncivil for a very open-minded city like San Francisco is supposed to be. It's just not always the case.
I'm surprised. I mean, I'm not discounting what you're telling me because I would imagine that even I think that people can coexist even with polar political points of view, and I'm surprised that this sort of reaction. So tell me about your campaigning. Like, what do you guys do? Is it your typical where you wear shirts that we're conservatives and we want you to join our party? How does that work?
No, I mean, usually we go to street fairs. There's a lot of street fairs in the city, a lot of fun street fairs to go to. Usually we kind of set up shop on either like an ironing board or we might reserve some space at the street fair and contribute to that particular fair.
And are you handing out pamphlets or anything that say things that say we're conservative so we don't like you and your sexual preferences, or if you're female we certainly don't want to hear anything about your rights as to choose whether or not you would need to, for whatever reason, terminate a pregnancy? Or are you handing out those types of literature that's causing people to react?
Definitely not. No, the only thing we're really setting out is we're focusing on really the fiscal issues. So, in San Francisco, really kind of pick and choose your battles at the end of the day. So what we do is kind of focus on things like education, on fiscal reform, healthcare, and so forth. So we're trying to focus on things that really apply to everybody, not just conservatives, but liberals, progressives alike. Usually we have very different ways of achieving those goals, but that might be why you get the backlash. But at the end of the day, we just are sitting there. There's a California Republican sign at the bottom, which typically kind of sends up a red flag for a lot of people over here who are not of that bent.
So why did you write the book?
So I wrote the book. The reason I did because I moved here about 10 years ago. I moved from another liberal state up in the state of Washington. Although it was a lot more civil up there. A lot of my neighbors up there were a lot more courteous and so forth. But I moved down here 10 years ago, wrote a blog, that kind of transitioned to a book. And for someone who kind of came to the city not kind of expecting the backlash that a Republican or conservative would have, I kind of wanted to draw out the good, the bad, the wacky parts of the city and kind of give people a tour of the city.
Quick question, though. You said you wrote a blog. You started a blog. How popular is that blog, and what do you espouse on that blog?
So what's funny is the blog actually started out as kind of a venting mechanism to some degree. So I really just wrote it to keep up on current events and so forth. I've actually ended up getting paid on it, so I have ads on the blog, and I've actually gotten paid for it. So it's turned from a hobby to a profession to some degree. So that kind of moved into the book. So every day I show.
But it's popular.
You know,
Here's where I'm going with this. I don't think that anyone should be, especially spitting on anyone. That's the grossest thing that I can imagine. But what I am trying to get at, that no, of course not. But where I am going with this, it seems like whatever the reaction is not coming out of the blue. Again, spitting aside, there's no excuse for that. But people's opposition, or perhaps coming out to say things to you while you're out there campaigning, or trying to get people registered to vote. If in fact your blog has become popular, then you're not just some guy, some nobody out there who's wearing a shirt that says conservative Republican. You're more than that. So you know that's where they're coming from. So they are reacting to something. You're sort of painting the picture that the people are out there, they're loons, they're coming out of left field with nothing that's inciting their reaction at all. But there is something that's inciting. And again, no one should spit on you or anyone else. I'm not condoning that.
No.
But you're not totally this innocent little young-looking kid out there. Come on.
Yeah, but the thing is, a lot of those people do not know. They're probably not the people reading my blog in the first place. So I think what they're looking at is a sign that says, you know, Republican out front, and says, I'm going to go get that guy. So that's, I think, the general direction of that. But, you know, it's not just me that I worry about. It's also other volunteers, even Vietnam War vets who have actually gotten spit on as well, who are volunteers, which is despicable.
Well,
so
that is despicable.
It is what it is. There's good and bad in the city, and I try to, you know, lean toward the good and kind of push out the bad.
There's a lot of good in San Francisco. It's a beautiful city.
Absolutely.
You've been there 10 years.
It's the reason
now,
I
so
moved here. I'm not
like
moving out.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere.
Absolutely.
And now you're 30.
Yeah, I've actually bought a house in the city. I'm planning on staying.
Wait a minute. Okay, you just turned 30 2 years ago. Excuse me, 2 days ago, and you bought a house in San Francisco.
Well, it's interesting. A lot of housing prices have gone a bit down in the kind of recession
down
time,
at 30 years old, Mr. Now I'm calling you Mr. Moyer again, because you can afford a house in San Francisco even at the age of 30, no matter how depressed the housing market is. You must be doing something right. Well, that blog is
I do a
really
lot.
well.
I work in online technology, so there's a lot of tech over here in California. So that's one of the good reasons, the reason why I'm staying here. So
well, keep up the
just
good
kind of
work.
pushing back on all the things that I don't like, and you know, push all the good.
Well, you keep up the good work. You're obviously doing something right. 30, happy birthday to you. How about that one?
Thank you.
We'll end it there. That's Thomas Moyer. There's his book. It's called Conservative Survival Guide to San Francisco, A Tale of Two Cities. Pick it up if you'd like.